Hello, Travels with Dottie here. Yep, I'm sitting in the casita again. What does that mean? That means I'm not doing anything special today, other than I got to work today. So unless I set up a camera in the corner with the sound off, you can't see the screen. You just see me talking to a screen silently. That's all that's going on today. Sorry. But I got to do a long form video every day. So this may not be my finest hour. Well, it won't be an hour, trust me. If it's 10 minutes, I'll be lucky here because I have no idea what to say. But let's check in on the kids. There's Dottie and George. There's George on the floor. Dottie there on the couch. And I have my my coffee. And I could not find this morning. I've talked about my favorite coffee cup before on the channel, actually recently. And I go to make coffee this morning, and it was gone. It wasn't in the casita, it wasn't in the trailer, it wasn't on my bike. I couldn't find it anywhere. And then as I was about to give up, there's something on my screen here. Hang on. Is that my screen? No, it's just something in the... It's nothing. Never mind. I couldn't find it anywhere. Then I realized, you know what? I was down the street talking to a couple of guys sitting in a chair. So I hopped on my e-bike and I zipped down there. And sure enough, by the chair I was sitting in, this was sitting on the ground. Had been there for at least a day, at least 24 hours. More than that, because I didn't use this yesterday because we went out to breakfast. If you saw the video yesterday, we went with some friends to breakfast in Carlsbad. Had it unusual, but there's good news and bad news. I had an unusual sort of negative comment. And I'm not going to even tell you what the comment was. It was personal and it stung. But, and if you're going to do it, this is my preference. They sent me an email. They did it privately. And they did think they were trying to help me, but boy, was it very personal and very insulting. I'm not going to tell you what it was. But it was obviously a person that has a particular sensitivity and that's all I'll tell you. But they were kind enough to share. And, you know, it was insulting, but it wasn't rude. It was obviously not malicious. And somebody pointed out recently, you know, some of the things that you say you're offended by, people don't mean it. And I get that. You can still be offended. People can be offensive without meaning it. And, you know, the number one thing I think is throwing your criticisms and negative thoughts in public is, you know, there's a reason I have a email on my channel that you can use to send me messages. If you send me something negative, I won't respond. I'm not going to reply to you most of the time. You know, unless it was the example of the lady that thought the pimple on my nose might have been cancer. If she had emailed me that, I would have responded to her and said, hey, you know, this is something that's, you know, I've had a pimple on my nose since I was 15, on and off. It's not plenty of doctors have seen it. It's nothing to worry about. And you notice I don't have a problem saying that publicly. So why do I have a problem with that person doing it publicly on the comment section? Well, it's more the principle of the thing to put me in a position publicly to, if I want to respond to kind of divulge something that some people may consider embarrassing. I don't. Pimple problems in my life are not on my high list of things I'm really sensitive about. But it would have been, so I didn't answer on the comment, but I certainly would have in an email. Now, so if I may not answer the email if it's just really over the top stuff like this one yesterday. She's not getting an answer from me. And if there's any malice that I detect, you just you'll get blocked from I'll just block the email address. That's all. It's a simple click, done. And I'm realizing as traffic has been steadily building that I'm gonna need to get a thicker skin about this stuff, or it's gonna. I don't want to see it turn into having a my YouTube channel on the road here as a negative experience, and and I'm sure many of you will tell me this. If I ask, they'll say, taking the 1% or less haters and allowing that to color your experience that's on you. And they'd be right. It is on me. It's not on the haters. They're always going to, the more broad, the bigger the audience that you reach, the more significant that 1% is in number of nasty comments. And boy, when I listen to other YouTubers, and I think it seems to me that female YouTubers are particularly vulnerable to this. They get some really awful, nasty stuff that, boy, I can tell you the lady that wrote the email yesterday will not like watching that. She'll be freaked out watching me sneeze on camera. I sneeze on camera, I drop things, I fumble my words, I pause, I say ah and I'm not a newscaster on ABC or Fox News, whatever your preference is. I'm just the guy with a camera and a dog and a cat in a trailer having fun in retirement. That's it. I'm not a pro. I said again. Well, there's actually software that I own where I can, and I've done it in the past, I can take a long video, extract the audio, put it through this processor, and it will detect and take out all the ahs and ums. And it makes me sound like a TED Talk or something. It's kind of an involved process because one of the things that happens, I noticed, and my viewers noticed, is when the is taken out, at first I was concerned you'd see maybe my lips move saying it, but no sound. But when you say it's not really detectable in lists. But what is detectable is it creates these little brief moments of silence. And if you start doing videos or any kind of audio recording, you'll understand the significance of that, because someone that doesn't know would say, well, of course it's silent. It's taking out what you're saying. But what's missing is the ambient background noise. I'm going to stay silent for a second and just listen carefully. The background noise here is my mini split, but there is ambient background noise in anything that you record, and it's noticeable when it goes away. So it sounds like the audio's clipping in and out. So how do you solve that? Am I boring you yet? It's my habit is to talk about things that I find interesting. So my solution for that was I would take the original clip with the ahs and the ums in it, and there's software in my editing software that'll take the voice out. So all that's left is everything else. And then I'll save that, and I'll layer the audio clip where I took the ahs and ums off on top of the one that's just the ambient noise. And it's not detectable anymore. That takes a lot of effort and time, and so I'm trying to continue for this to be an enjoyable thing. I'm fighting a battle on two fronts, and one is the first thing I mentioned is try to get a thicker skin about negative comments and let it go, because it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. The proportion may stay the same or get better, I don't know. But the sheer number of negative comments is, as the channel grows, that's going to rise, and I'm a fool if I believe otherwise. So that's number one. Number two is, don't be tempted to do things like that audio processing that I talked about to take out the ahs and the ums. Don't create so much work that it becomes work for you. It becomes something that isn't pleasant. So know that I'm doing that. And if you decide you want to start a YouTube channel, I think it's a good philosophy to have, because all I'm doing is I did my positive news short, and I turned around and I punched record here without any plan, and I just started talking. And I'm going to talk for a little bit more, who knows about what. But at the end of it, I'm going to hit the stop button. I'm going to upload it. I do have to do a title, inner description, and a thumbnail. But I tell you, the title and description, can I tell you a secret? I don't write the descriptions. I don't write the titles. Well, I don't write 90% of the titles. I use artificial intelligence, Chat GPT. You may not know this, but if you upload a video onto YouTube, after it's fully processed and uploaded, and sometimes this takes a little while for it to show up. So if you check it out, make sure you give it like an hour after everything finishes. So it's uploaded. I haven't published it yet because I haven't done the thumbnail and everything, but it's out there unlisted on YouTube. You can go in to YouTube Studio and click on it and scroll down to subtitles. And when you get to subtitles, you click that, and there's a transcript of your whole video. So I copy that and I paste it into Chat GPT, and I have a code that I put in YT for YouTube, and it knows, because I have an account with them, it knows to invoke what I always ask for on them taking that video, and it does an SEO optimized. If you don't know what that is, you won't care, trust me. It'll give me three potential titles and a full description. So I copy and paste the description in. I either pick I pick a title, throw it in there, and it also gives me, it isn't quite, it's not to the place, it'll generate a thumbnail for me, but they usually not that good. But it'll give me a suggestion for what they think an attractive thumbnail for that video would be. And I'll read that, and sometimes I'll follow it, and sometimes I'll just do my own thing. But it took me longer to explain that than it takes to do it. That's how easy it is. So after this video stops, I'll upload it. And the only editing I do is I do a little bit of color correction, which is one click. If I'm in the car, I need to do some audio enhancement, but I won't need to do audio enhancement. So I color correct, and I process it, export it through my editing software. And then when it's exported, I upload it into YouTube and do the things I just described. There's some time delay where I have to, sometimes, a 40-minute video could take an hour to upload and process, depending on how busy the servers are. So there's a gap in time, but overall, most of the work is just doing the video, recording this part. It's the most time consuming, and that's pleasurable to me, because although I'm here in the casita with Dottie and George, and it's just me, in a very real way, it's not just me, it's me and you. I do imagine, especially the people that comment, I sort of have a picture of you all in my mind, and I sort of picture you sitting on your couch, watching on a TV, or maybe sitting outside with a cell phone, drinking coffee, all the things that you all could potentially do while you're watching my video. And so I feel like I have company and I'm talking to you, and it's a kind of a great little thing for kind of an introvert. I'm an introvert for sure. I get my energy from spending time alone, and spending time around people drains me of energy for sure. She said, like, I do counseling after, like, today I'm going to do counseling. I don't do it for the whole day, but I do it Fridays. I have maybe 4 sessions, and then Saturdays maybe 2. But after the Friday and the Saturday, by noon on Saturday, I'm exhausted. And all I'm doing is sitting like this and talking to well, of course you're real people, but talking to a person that I can see too and interact with for 45 minutes to an hour at a time. And that doesn't, and contrary to layperson belief, counseling sessions usually aren't all about intense emotion, although there can be, absolutely. And those are hard, those are hard. But generally it's not super intense emotionally. It's kind of like having a conversation with a trusted friend, a serious conversation with a trusted friend about their day-to-day issues and challenges. That's what it's like. But still, because interacting with people takes a lot of energy from me, when it's over, I'm pretty tired, and I'm always like the last session on Saturday morning. I'm like, I tell you, I'm free until next Friday. I've got several days off where I can do whatever I want to do. It's kind of neat. But I do suggest that even if you don't need to, because I don't need to do the counseling for money. But I do it. I think devoting at least close to a day a week when you're retired on the road to some sort of vocation, whether it's something you do online or volunteer work, is, I think it's a good balance. I think it's good. Well, I'll say this: it's good for my mental health, and as a therapist, I believe it would be good for many other people, but it's not going to be for everybody. There are people that legitimately, and I support them, saying, hey, I worked for 50 years. I'm retired. I'm not going to work another day. I've earned this. You have earned it. Good for you. And it may be working a half a day or a day a week would be tough on you. Don't do it. Only do it if it makes you feel good. It makes me feel good. Gives me some extra, a little bit of extra money, just like YouTube gives me a little bit of extra money a month, so I can afford these luxuries like my new, I think I mentioned it yesterday in the video, but if you missed it, I've gone full Apple. I was a PC guy from, I was going to say from day one. You know what? But that is wrong. Because the first computer I used, I think the year was 1981. I was just about to graduate from college, and I was working part-time for a consulting firm. And someone had brought in, I think the model was an Apple II. And they had some kind of spreadsheet on it. I'm not sure it was VisiCalc. Was it VisiCalc? Yeah, it was VisiCalc was the name of the spreadsheet. Everybody knows Excel these days. Excel didn't exist then because IBM PCs didn't exist. So the guy started teaching me how to use it. So my first PC was an Apple. But shortly afterwards, when the IBM PC was introduced, we got one of the first ones. And I have a very vivid memory of this. The accounting and finance department, we're in this little small building in Boston. And the accounting department was in the basement. And the only stairs to the basement was the circular stairway that went down in the middle of the floor. And I had, I'd say not a desk, but a table next to those stairs, and I had the Apple set up there. And I remember two things very distinctly. One is the guy coming down the stairs carrying the big box that said IBM on the side. That was the first time I laid eyes on an IBM PC, and we were excited. We were, like the mini computer that ran our operation in accounting was an IBM mini computer. I mean, IBM was, serious people, serious businesses used IBMs, and Apples were like, the guy that brought the Apple in was teased relentlessly by people. No one took him seriously, and they didn't take the machine seriously. Suddenly, everyone changed when an IBM PC was brought in. I had a problem. I wonder if you can guess what that problem was. I'd done a lot of work on that Apple, and I had a lot of files. And it's not like you can take the disk out of the Apple and stick it in the IBM PC and have it work. So what's to do? The company hired a guy to come in. And this is the other vivid memory I have. He came in. We had both the computers laid out on my table. This is a day after the delivery. It could have been the day of. I don't remember. But he said, I said, you can really do this? And he goes, yeah. And he takes these cables out of a bag. And I don't know if you're my age, you may remember like serial cables. They're big plugs on the end and braided cables. And you would hook up things like a printer with it. And he had this special cable where somehow he was trying to explain to me he engineered swapping the wires around or something. If you know what this guy did and can explain it, tell me in the comments. But he connected. This is what I remember. And he might have run some software that I don't remember, but I'm sure there was no commercially available software that would convert Apple's files to IBM PC format, DOS readable files. My recollection is from 1981 that it was just the cable, and it worked. I got all my data, and I was using VisiCalc on the new IBM PC. And I don't know what happened to the Apple. And boy, did I get off on a tangent there, right? I time traveled back to 1981 there for a second. So from then on, I was a solid Windows guy. And especially when I was big into gaming in the 90s. And Apple has never been a platform for doing games. They're getting better, but still, if you're a serious gamer, you're on a Windows-based PC or Linux, or you're not Linux, not so much, but Windows is going to give you the most flexibility for games. And even recently, in the past decade, I've got to I can't go to Apple because I love the game. And guess what? I don't love the game anymore. It's been a long, I do have a couple of older games that occasionally I'll go on and play. And if I play for 10 minutes, that's a long time. So I just don't do the games thing anymore. So that's not a factor. And I tell you what I've always loved is iPhones. I've had iPhones since the introduction. I got one of the first ones when they first came out. I haven't had every model, but on average, I would upgrade every 2 years, in some stretches every year. And I've always been a big fan of the software, the operating system for the iPhone. I did have a MacBook Air for a little while. I think I bought it in 2015, but I really didn't get that much use out of it. It wasn't very powerful. But this year, I've I started with buying a M4 Mini. And you know what? I can show you this stuff. Hang on. Let me... I love this camera. I can just tap this and it turns around. And this is actually a desktop. It's called an M4 Mac Mini, M4 Pro version. This is the Pro version. There's a base version that's only about $600. This is more than twice that. So it's got sort of an upgrade. But look out, there's my hand. That's how small this thing is. This thing down here is a dock for extra ports and an extra drive, but you can do it without the dock, and it's just that. And the monitor is a studio monitor from Apple. It's very expensive, but look how beautiful it is. And it's brushed aluminum. And there's an Apple keyboard, Apple mouse. So, and I have an Apple TV on my big TV here, and I also have an Apple TV in the trailer on the little TV. So all these Apple devices kind of work seamlessly together, and it's kind of cool when it does. So the most recent thing I've done is I do have a laptop, a Dell laptop, that gaming laptop, very powerful one, that I bought in 2021 and did some pretty substantial upgrades on it. If you know anything about these specs, if you don't, go get a cup of coffee while I say this, because I'll bore the heck out of you. I've upgraded it to a terabyte SSD drive and 64 gigabytes of RAM. So it's a beast for video editing, and it's done really great. And recently I decided to, and if you want it, you can have it for $750. It's listed on eBay. And it's a Dell G15 5511, and there's only a few of them listed, and there's only one of them for $750. Everything else is less because the specs are so much less than my upgraded version. It's a good deal for somebody. So I'll put a link to it if you're interested. It's great for gaming. It's great for editing. Why am I getting rid of it? Because I've made the decision. I'm going full Apple. So I have ordered a Apple laptop as well, a Mac MacBook Pro, and that's going to be delivered, like I think they said Tuesday or something. So that'll give me portability. It's powerful enough to do the same editing the one I just showed you is. So a guy that's been almost a lifetime PC based is now, I'm a Mac guy. I never thought that would happen, but it did. And the more I get into it, the more used to how to navigate around, the more and more I like it. And the more I understand the people that have been raving about it for decades that I've been ignoring. There's this old thing. An old thing that describes typical human bias, and it's the Ford Chevy decision bias. And it goes like this. For the typical, human being, of which I qualify, I'm one of those, and I do this. I absolutely do this. And unless you're very unique, you do this too. So I want to buy a pickup truck, and I don't have a preference, and other than it's got to be either a Chevy or a Ford. So I do all my research. I do YouTube videos. I read Car and Driver magazine or whatever sources. I talk to every friend I have. I stop people on the street, and I do a ton of research, and I decide, damn it, the best truck is a Ford. So I buy a Ford. The decision bias comes after you make the decision. We have a natural filter in our brain that will do the following. It will take in and gladly hear and process positive things about Fords and negative things about Chevy. And it'll filter out negative things about Chevys, or negative things about Ford and positive things about Chevy. It's human nature. We don't even know that we're doing it. Right? And there's subtle ways of doing it. Let's say I hear a negative thing about Ford. I will in some way discount the source of that. Say, well, that's not really true. That's not a reliable report. But somebody says, Ford's the best truck I've ever had in my life. It's the best thing ever. I'm like, that's credible. Decision bias. Right? So I did that for many, many years with PCs versus Macs. I would embrace positive things about PCs and embrace criticisms of Apple products. And the bump in the road there was through the whole thing, my love for the phone, and my rationalization was, well, they know how to do phones. They don't know how to do computers. You can rationalize almost anything. I've been wanting to mention this on video, but I've been hesitating. I don't want to disrespect people's legitimate points of view, but this one keeps coming up. Every time I talk about, almost every time I talk about food or nutrition or anything, even casually, I'll get at least one comment that will espouse the virtues of the carnivore diet. And it's popular with a lot of people. It's popular enough so I did my diligence without decision bias. And what I found consistently is that there are definite short-term benefits to a carnivore diet. In particular, if you're doing things like want to lose weight, lose fat, gain muscle mass, the carnivore diet, short-term good, right. Also, it says the long-term benefits are either associated with poor nutritional outcomes, or they say it's just, we don't know for sure. It's a risk. And I'm not into the carnivore diet, as there are plenty of other diets that I'm not terribly interested in. But what I've wanted to say is, we're not carnivores. We're omnivores. We're not carnivores. So if I'm not a carnivore, why do I think it's a good idea to be on a carnivore diet? Probably not a great idea. But you could argue that. You could have some legit arguments against that. Like, being a vegan or vegetarian isn't consistent with being an omnivore, right? An omnivore does a little greens, does a little meat. It does it all. A little bit of everything. It's like the George Plimpton of biological units. Okay, if you don't know who George Plimpton is, you're too young to watch this channel. I'm kidding. If you don't know, George Plimpton was this character that was the classic guy that was knew quite a bit. He knew a little about a lot of things. I don't know how many careers he had. It was dozens, and he did all these different things, and he was the symbol of a guy that could do anything. George Plimpton. Let's look him up, shall we? Let's look up George Plimpton and get some. Instead of relying on my 65-year-old memory, let's get some facts here. George Plimpton. He says he's an American writer. He did a lot of things. I know he did a lot of things. George Plimpton. Okay, so he was known for sports writing and helping to found the Paris Review, as well as his Patreon. A patrician? I don't know what patrician means. I'm embarrassed. Demeanor and accent. He was known for participatory journalism, including accounts of his active involvement in professional sporting events, acting in Western, performing comedy acts at Caesar's Palace, and playing with the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, and then recording the experience from the point of view of an amateur. According to the New York Times, his exploits in editing and writing seesawed between letters and the witty accounts he wrote of his various madcap attempts to slip into other people's high-profile careers. A lanky, urbane man possessed of boundless energy and perpetual bonhomie. Who wrote this? Bonhomie? What does that mean? Ken, you know what all these words mean. I know you do. Became in 1953 the first and only editor of the Paris Review, a ubiquitous presence at book parties and other gala social events. He was tireless in his commitment to the serious contemporary fiction the magazine publishes. Everything chronicled in witty and elegant prose in nearly 36 books. So, you can see George Plimpton, he was known for doing a little bit of everything. Active involvement in is things that he wanted to write about. If he was going to write about a stockbroker, he'd go out and be a stockbroker. So George Plimpton. Anyway, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about today. And I'll be curious to see if this video does well at all. I am frequently surprised at how poorly some videos do and how great others do. I have not cracked the code. Thanks for watching.